have Randy Poston with us here today, who is the chairman of ACI Committee 318, which has just gone through a major revision of the building code, ACI 318. So, Randy, why was this effort taken? What was the purpose?
Well, Bill, thank you for letting me share in this, and we're very excited about the changes. We think it's going to be a huge improvement for both the design and construction of concrete buildings and all kinds of concrete structures. And the reason we undertook it, we went through an extensive review prior to getting into this code cycle of what were some of the problems that both engineers and contractors were having with the code. There seemed to be certain gaps and inconsistencies, and one of the things that we heard over and over again from workshops and focus groups of all sort of stakeholders was they really wanted a code that mirrored more the design process and the construction process, and the code certainly had the elements of design that were needed, but a lot of times when someone was looking for something, they weren't sure where to go. And so we've improved the format such that it's more intuitive and obvious that if you're looking for a certain thing, where you're going to need to go, and then along with that, we're going to be following the design and construction process by the layout of the code. So we think it's going to be a huge improvement.
Okay. Well, that's great. Is it completely reorganized from the previous version? And is there going to be a way for people who are comfortable and familiar with previous versions to find what they're looking for in the new version?
And yes, that's a great question, and it is completely reorganized. When you look at the format, we're calling it a member-based code, and it's maybe a little bit of misnomer, but we're really, when I talk about the following the design process, we have the core of the code now is going to be members. You're going to be designing slabs, you're going to be designing beams, you're going to be designing columns, you're going to be designing walls, and whenever you do that, within that chapter, you will know that once you get through the work in that chapter, you have completed all of the requirements of the design. And so it's going to be more, instead of having to look around in 5 or 6 different chapters, you're going to have one chapter. If you complete it, you're going to have fulfilled the building code. For those more uncomfortable with previous codes, we are one of the resources that we knew would be needed is we're going to provide on the website basically a transition table. So if you have your favorite provision in the 2011 code, you're going to be able to find where it is in the 2014 and vice versa. So there will be a lot of those types of things that are going to be available to the stakeholders so that they're more comfortable as they transition to this new code.
I know that one of ACI's goals for the next few years is to become a more international society and to consider international needs a little more. How is the code responding to that?
Bill, that's we're finding that there's previously unaware, but it's actually being used in 23 countries now. And one of the first efforts was changing it to Spanish, and we actually have Spanish versions in both U.S. customary units and SI units, which is interesting. But we also have it in Chinese. We have, of course, English versions that are in both U.S. customary units and SI units. So we have multiple formats to try to gear it towards whether you're building in the United States or you're building in another country where they've adopted the metric system.
One thing, as we know, everybody is moving to more mobile devices and tablets. Is the code going to be such that it will format easily into those formats?
Yeah, and yes, and we're very excited about that. It was a little bit of a kind of timing issue and serendipity that we were with the changing in technology, but it occurred at a very appropriate time with what we were doing. We certainly had planned to have a electronic format of the of the code, and but because of some of the tools out there, we're going to have a very much enhanced PDF version that you can have on a tablet, take it in the field, have it much easier to change between, go automatically between provisions that reference other provisions, and so forth. So we're really excited about that. It's going to be in MOBI format, mobile phone format as well, and all sorts of things. So we're really excited that we hit it at kind of the right timing with the change in technology. So it'll be a very, very fun for users, so to speak.
My readers obviously are concrete contractors. So is there going to be any significant impact on them? I mean, like in terms of constructability issues, that's always an issue with them.
And that's a great question, and one that we're spending a lot of time addressing. Really heretofore, it was really unclear whether the code was addressing the design professional or the contractor. It really addresses both, but in any given provision, you're never sure whether the design professional didn't know if he needed to be addressing it to the contractor, or the contractor needed to know that information. We're changing all that. We have all of the construction requirements in one chapter, Chapter 26, and it's very clear. The licensed design professional, that information that he has to either have on his drawings or specifications to build the project, to tell the contractor this is what I need for my design, versus those things that he needs to make sure that from a construction point of view, he's satisfying the design intent. So we've separated those out. It's going to be very clear, and really much improved. And I think by pulling all that information together into one chapter, it's going to, that's really one of the big improvements in this reorganization. We found that as a gap and kind of an inconsistency in what we had been doing.
Okay, we appreciate you coming. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Bill.
Thanks.